Welcome to Draw My Life. Yay, this is going to be fun. I guarantee nothing with my drawings. This is Ariana, which is a really long name, and I really should have thought of something shorter. I am 25, and I am a female from all over the place, but we're going to start in West Virginia, where I was born. I was born in 1989, which was a long time ago. Most of my viewers don't even know the 80s, but it's okay. I was born, of course, to my mom, who was the coolest lady in the world, and my biological father, who I really don't know a lot about because we don't really have much of a relationship. But my mom, we were always close. When I was just a year old, just a teeny tiny little thing, a little bundle of horror, my mom and my biological father got divorced, which I really don't know anything about, so I really don't have any feelings towards it, sad as that is to say. In 1990, my mom met the man who would become my stepdad for many years and became pregnant with and had my baby brother in 1991. At the time, me and my family were very close. It was just me, my mom, my baby brother, and my stepdad. And it really wasn't bad at the time. You know, my stepdad really loved having a family. And I loved having a baby brother. Still do. Unfortunately, in 1993, a lot of things changed when my mom became pregnant with my first baby sister. And of course, you know, she was born. Unfortunately, when that happened, my stepfather no longer had any use for me. I was no longer his daughter, which was very depressing. And I felt like I was fighting against the world. It was a wall between me and the rest of my family. My mom thankfully helped me through a lot of that, and if it wasn't for her, I'd probably still feel like I was living then. I have some really cool memories with my mom, and my favorite was when she woke me up to take me to see the movie The Page Master, which was about books with like horror, fantasy, and adventure. And I think that is the movie that made me want to read. Always wanting to read. And reading anything, that was the best part. In 1998, my mom became pregnant with my youngest sibling, who is so much like me, it's not even funny. We are like twins now. But at the time, I felt like I was all alone, just in a corner. But the rest of my siblings got to feel like a real family, and it's something I held against them for a long time. Between 2002 and 2003, my mom finally got up the gumption and asked the step loser for a divorce. I'll never be more grateful than I was at the time. It put an end to several years of physical and emotional abuse. I was thrilled. I was beyond happy. I was ecstatic. There just aren't enough words to describe how I felt. Several years later, well, not even several, a couple years later, my mom was playing on Pogo, which is an online gaming thing, where she met the coolest guy in the world. And they got married. And he became my stepdad. And for the first time in my life, I was a part of a family. This man became the father that I never had. We were finally, for once, a complete family. And it was the best feeling I have ever had. While I was going through school at the time, I was a book nerd. I would read everything: horror, fantasy, sci-fi, romance, anything I could get my hands on. The books by Anne McCaffrey, Stephen King, Dean Koontz, and J.K. Rowling. I couldn't keep my hands off of them. All I wanted to do was read. When I got in trouble, I had my books taken away as punishment. I would read anything and everything. Which is probably where my love for horror finally developed. Unfortunately, it took a long time to get all of my siblings together, which was very hard on my mom because there were 4 of us, and at the most, at any given time, she'd only have 2 or 3 of us. She was stuck in the middle of every parent's worst nightmare, a custody battle. And it broke her heart, and I watched it tear her apart for years because the ex-step loser just wanted to make her life harder. At 16, we moved back to my hometown where I spent most of the years growing up, and I met the man next door. I was 16 and he was about 17 years older than me, which looking back now is not the brightest decision I ever made. At 18, still, we started dating. And at 19, we got married. The marriage wasn't very good, and it didn't last very long. And we separated when I was 22. A lot of changes happened then. I even joined the military. The Navy to be specific, which really changed my life. On top of throwing on a brand new uniform, I had to learn a whole new code of conduct and a whole new way of looking at life. Hoo-yah, Navy, right? When I was in corps school, which was about 6 months after I joined, well, no, not even that, about 3 months after I joined, I was training to become a medic, which that's basically what a corpsman is. I found out more about YouTube. I had never really used it before, and that wasn't really a bad thing. I never had much of a need for it at the time. I met a guy who would become my best friend while I was there. His name was Wall. He was the coolest kid I had ever met. We were unbelievably close. He would steal my phone and talk to my mother. That's how close we were. Unfortunately, within about 3 months, Wall committed suicide. And that was the hardest thing I ever dealt with. It was losing my best friend that way. I bawled for weeks. And to this day, I still occasionally send him emails and messages on Facebook to let him know I'm thinking about him. So after that, I was stationed in Connecticut, which was my first duty station, where I started working in a dental department, helping with teeth and stuff like that. It was very creepy. Where I met a friend named Luke. And Luke had something really cool to show me. It was my first creepypasta. It was called Abandoned by Disney, and it freaked me out. It's read by Mr. Creepypasta. And I fell in love. I could not begin to express how excited I was that there was a genre out there that almost catered exclusively to the thing that I love the most, horror. While I was there, I met who we'll call Mr. Ari, the man who would become my husband. He was everything I had ever been looking for. I didn't have a lot of good in my life, and he brought it all there. We fell in love, and 2 years later, we're married. It was hard at first because of his, deployments as a submarine dude. Which I don't know why anyone wanted to join the submarine group. Being stuck underwater in a tin can was not my idea of a good time. But we did it, and we made it. I finally came up with my character for my YouTube channel. Took me almost 2 years. We got married. And finally, for the first time in my life, I can say I've met my happily ever after. So make sure you guys like, comment, share, and even subscribe. I can't do this without you guys, and you guys make everything awesome. Stay scared.